Hello VC. Well, that was a year, wasn't it? One we'd probably all rather forget. But there has been music, hasn't there? And I've been watching everybody's sort of top 10 albums of the year. And I thought, well, maybe I should do my own. I've not done a video for a while, so I'll get back on that horse. Now, I'm not very good at ranking albums, and so I can never choose which my favourites are. But I'm lucky this year because I've just had a look, and out of all of those hundreds and thousands of records that were released this year, I have bought 10. So this is my top 10 of the albums I have bought this year that aren't re-releases, although one of them technically is a... I'll explain to it when I get to it. And so, or I tend to buy a lot of second-hand stuff. I've been deep into various sort of, I can't get out of the 1970s. I'm buying obscure country rock stuff from the 70s. Anyway, those are some videos I have planned. So yeah, so I'm going to run through the 10 records I bought this year in no particular order, apart from the last one that I'm going to say is my favourite album of the year. I haven't listened to enough albums that have been out this year to sort of make any informed decision on which I think are the best albums of the year. But these are albums that I bought this year and I have enjoyed. So, number one, The Hanging Stars. This is a new kind of Sky. They're a London-based kind of folk country rock sound band. They have a kind of Birdsian sort of lysergic psychedelia kind of stuff going on. So there's a great track on here called Three Rolling Hills, which has got sort of mariachi stuff going on. So yeah, sort of psyche, folky, country, rocky. Yeah, if you like the Birds and things like that, you'll probably like them. So British band, The Hanging Stars. An American band, this is my second one here. This is Floor It by the Texas Gentlemen. It's their second album. Texas Gentlemen are a kind of a modern day wrecking crew. They're a group of session players that play on all kinds of country music. They've toured and recorded with George Strait, Joe Ely, Chris Christopherson. So this is them doing their own stuff, their second album. It's a double album and it comes with a nice game that you can play, which is rather nice. It sounds very funky and country and soul-y and rocky. It's kind of like one track will be very Muscle Shoals, the next will be kind of straight ahead country, the next will be incredibly funky. So a really fine album, really nice stuff. Okay, a world music album. This is Songhoy Blues. They're from Mali. This is, I think, their third album. They were originally from the north of Mali, but when the Islamic rebels took over, they headed south to Bamako, where they formed their band. I don't really like the cover to this. What's it called? It's called Optimism. I don't really like it. It looks like a sort of a boy band album cover from the like a Take That or something. Anyway, it's that sort of desert blues Malian kind of thing, a bit like Ali Farka Touré. In fact, 3 of the members of this band's surname is Touré, and I was wondering if any of them are related, but apparently they're not, and none of them are related to each other. It sounds like Touré is the Malian equivalent of Smith or Jones. Anyway. This has got more rocky stuff on it. I think the opening track sounds like it could have sort of guitars from a sort of a far more sort of indie rock band. Which I'm not overly keen on, but some of it's great. Some great rhythms, some great sort of desert blues kind of stuff going on. This is Hannah White and the Nordic Connection. Hannah White is a London-born country singer. This is recorded with a group of Norwegian country pickers in Bergen in Norway. And it's nice enough. I wouldn't say it's an outstanding record. It's got some great tracks on it. It's very 70s, very soulful. Kind of torch singer stuff. You can imagine the sort of things that Patsy Cline might do if she was around in the 70s. It's kind of that. Nice enough, very nice, lush sound, soul country. I've seen people show this one. This is Matt Berry, Phantom Birds. Everyone's probably said far more about him than I know. A bit of a polymath, comedian, writer, musician. He has a sort of a penchant for the 70s kind of singer-songwriters. I know he's a big fan of Jesus Christ Superstar. He did a documentary about it. But this album brings in B.J. Cole on pedal steel. B.J. Cole is a sort of the UK equivalent to Sneaky Pete, Kleinow or Red Rhodes on pedal steel. And he was in a band called Kerchise and has played on practically everyone's records if they wanted it to sound a bit country. And although it's got pedal steel all over it, it's not a particularly country sounding record, very West Coast California, but really nice. He's got a great voice and a really good ear for a tune. So Matt Berry's Phantom Birds. Now this is a bit of a cheat, this record. This is Nigel Clark, Make Believe Love. Nigel Clark was and is the kind of lead singer and frontman of indie Britpop popsters Dodgy, who I'm a big fan of. And he left the band in about 99 after their third album, and he recorded this during 2000 and 2001, but it was never released. And so, obviously, with no touring going on this year, he was looking at ways to make a bit of money. He drenched up these recordings he made in the early 2000s and spruced them up and put them out. And it's really nice. It's if you like Dodgy and if you like them, there'll be stuff on here for you. That it's got a bit more of an indie dance feel to it. It does sound a bit dated, very much of its time around the turn of the century, turn of the millennium. But yeah, nice stuff. Indie rock, pop, dance. Nigel Clark.
One of these days there's gonna be some change, but it won't happen until you do. You got to realize the facts aren't lies, 'cause the people that know it's true. Can we brave the weather and follow our desires? Breathe in time, step by step.
Okay, Calexico, one of my favourite bands. This is, what's it called? It's called Seasonal Shift. and this is a Christmas record. It was recorded, I kind of get the idea it was recorded across the world with various collaborators and friends, and all kind of stitched together via the internet. But really nice. It's got a cover version of Happy Christmas, War Is Over. I think there's another one here that's a cover. I think it might be, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think it might be a... I don't mind. Calexico kind of in alternative country with flourishes of spaghetti western mariachi stuff, and that's all over this as well. They have some Latin feel to it as well, but a really nice Christmas album. It's one of those Christmas albums you can put on and it doesn't necessarily sound like a Christmas album, so I've enjoyed playing that this year. So that's Seasonal Shift, Calexico. Similar thing, another artist. There's been quite a few artists that have released live recordings, archive recordings, because they couldn't get out and play and make a living. So this is another one I think might fall into that. This is Sturgill Simpson. This is Cutting Grass, Volume 1. Sturgill Simpson is a kind of a modern country singer. In fact, his last album, though, was a kind of electro rock storming album. This is back to his roots, and it's a collection of older songs off all of his albums, I think, recorded by a bluegrass band. And I love that cover. That's got to be my favourite. That's certainly my favourite cover of the year. Double album. It's Volume 1. I got this. It had been released on MP3 as a download and perhaps a CD as well. But this only came out a couple of weeks ago on vinyl. And I swear he'd already announced Volume 2 before I even got Volume 1 in my hands. Slow down, Sturgill, mate. Come on. Let me get this one listened to before you try to flog me the next one. But yeah, great record. If you don't know any bluegrass, it might be an interesting introduction. It's kind of very modern sound, but it's that bluegrass thing. And of course, with Sturgill Simpson, it's got a bit more of a kind of a modern twist on the lyrics.
And every time I take a look inside that old and fabled book, I'm blinded and reminded of the pain caused by some old man in the sky. But that marijuana and LSD, psilocybin and DMT, they all change the way I see. Love's the only thing that ever saved my life. So don't waste your mind on nursery rhymes, fairy tales, blood and wine. There's turtles all the way down the line. So to each their own, we go home, where the realms our souls must roam, to and through the myth that we all call space and time.
Penultimate record. This is Roselit Bone, Crisis Actor. I think this is their 4th album. They're from Portland, Oregon. And they're a kind of a country rock, alternative country group. Imagine Marty Robbins and the Cramps, the love child of Marty Robbins and the Cramps. Sort of bits of mariachi in here, bits of spaghetti western, but yeah, Crampsy punk kind of country. Yeah, some great stuff. I might put some needle drops of some of these along the way. And this is my favourite album of the year, and this is BC Camplight, Shortly After Takeoff. This is, I think it's like his 5th album, but this is the 3rd of his what he called the Manchester trilogy. He was an American, and he relocated to the UK in Manchester, and he's recorded 3 albums here. This is the 3rd of them, and I'm not going to say too much about it because I want to do a video on his 3 albums, the Manchester trilogy. But it's great. It's very modern sounding, but if you it's got bits of, I suppose, sort of Beach Boysy kind of. Well, his earlier ones are perhaps more, but certainly some Brian Wilson stuff in there. Van Dyke Parks maybe. And certainly bits of Harry Nilsson. If you like Nilsson's kind of irreverential witticisms and things like that, you'll probably like some of this. But it's a really well produced album, and this was the soundtrack of my lockdown, the first lockdown. It came out in March, and it was one of the first records I got through the post that actually during that lockdown, and so I kind of I fell into this album and listened to it over and over, perhaps more than I have done any other album in recent memory. Yeah, really nice, great stuff. Funny, inventive, bits of Zappa. Yeah, it's all over the place. So yeah, so that's BC Camplight shortly after Takeoff. So those were my 10 albums I bought this year. I will see you all in the new year. So until then, bye bye for now.